All right. Well, thanks everyone for coming and braving the snow. I'll leave it at that. Yeah, thanks for coming, everybody, today. I want to start off just by, like I said, saying first of all, thank you so much to Mike. We'll bring him up here for a second. This is Mike Stone. He's a lender that I've been using since I got started, and actually a personal friend of mine from CU. And does an absolutely great job, so we bring him in when we can, and he's provided breakfast for us today, so if you haven't grabbed it, please do. Do you want to say a thing or two about Megastar?
Yeah, so Megastar Financial, well,
I'm going to stand close to you because I got a microphone on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, got to make sure they can hear me okay. So yeah, Megastar Financial's a privately owned, locally operated lender. We're headquartered here. We were founded in 1999, so we are a lender, meaning like we are the bank. We'll make the loan with our own money. We control everything with the process in-house. So it gives a lot of creative control and high level of service when it comes to making sure that you're well taken care of. As far as a little background on myself, if you do have any questions like that come up here in the conversation today, feel free to reach out to me as a resource. But a little background on myself as a loan originator is I'm kind of a coach and a planner for you on the front end in terms of making sure that you kind of understand what your options are and how to plan to get there, and whether it's like kind of credit building or planning or saving, you know, that's kind of part of the repertoire. But then of course, exploring options with you, making sure that they fit in with your current and long-term financial goals. We will do that, as well as kind of ushering you through the process. And when I got into the industry 7 years ago, that's where I started, was in the processing and underwriting departments. So I can think like an underwriter, which really helps. It's not just kind of pushing paper on their desk, because that can not always turn out to be the best. And there is strategy there. We want to make it easy on our clients and kind of make it so it's not feeling like you're filling a bottomless pit of mortgage paperwork or financials. So we like to kind of take that approach and strategy. And then even after closing, my job doesn't stop there. I continue to monitor things. Like right now, interest rates have dipped again. So there's a lot of opportunity for people to take advantage of savings through a refinance, for example. So staying in touch with people after the fact, that as life and goals and interest rates in the market are changing, we're making sure that you're taking advantage and your loan is still properly integrated into those items. So it's a little background on myself.
Absolutely.
And I'll hopefully that wasn't too long.
No, not at all.
Okay.
And
so yeah, my contact information will be here, but I'm going to hang out for the entirety of the meeting, and would be happy. Feel free to come up to me to ask me any questions.
Yep. So aside from the question and answer at the end and the information that we'll put on this slide, we'll also kind of reference a few different times where information from a lender like this would be very important in what the information is that we're presenting at the time. So I'll kind of call them out a couple of times. But thank you so much again for coming today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. And then if I could have just the members of the Impact Group either stand up or come up, or, I mean, you don't have to come up if you don't want to. You can just stand up. So these are all agents here with the Impact Group. It's most of the people here. So this is actually just an internal training that we invited some friends to. But these are all members and agents, and every one of them, I'm not sure, if they brought you here or not, but at the end, if you have questions, basically you can turn to them and they'll be a resource for you. If the agent that brought you here today is not here, then by all means, just reach out to them afterwards and say, hey, I got some great information. I want to ask you some questions about this or that. But we'll all come up at the end to answer specific questions, because every one of us, the reason we pair together is because we all have diverse and different backgrounds and skill sets. And so it makes it really easy for us to answer questions as a group and work as a group. All right, thanks, guys. All right, and one last thing I want to do before we get started is just mention some of the stuff that's sitting around here on the desks. So we've got the sign-in sheet. If you have one of these at the end of your table, please sign in, pass it on down, and then you can scoot it on back and we'll collect these. Feel free to use the pen if you don't have one. And then we do have just a little sheet that is there for your takeaways, your ahas. We will send the slide deck, this entire slide deck, to everyone who attends, or really to anyone who requests. So aside from the people that are here today, those that couldn't brave the weather, we'll be doing a live broadcast of this on Facebook, and we can send the links to you guys so that you can send the links to them if you thought that something here was really valuable today and that someone else that would benefit from it. So feel free to grab one of those if you haven't, and a pen and breakfast, and we're good to go, right? Cool. Well, my name is Brandon Griffin. I have been doing this since about 2015, and the Impact Group is actually a group of friends of mine that finally talked me into doing some real estate, and been loving it ever since. I'm not going to talk too much about myself, but I wanted to give you a little bit of a context. So to begin with, what we're going to do is we're going to step through just a little bit about who we are as the Impact Group and who Your Castle is, our parent brokerage. We just recently made a switch from Keller Williams. And that's not to impress you or anything like that, but just to impress upon you that we've been doing this for quite a while, and we know, what we're talking about and presenting here. So what we're going to cover today, first of all, we'll go through the who we are, just a little bit about us and Your Castle, and then the what's and whys, kind of the motivation behind this class and why you might be here or why you might be tuning in online. The class was actually originally built just from a questionnaire that we sent out to all of our past clients. What interests you about selling? What are you concerned about? What would you like to know more about? And so we took those common questions and we did that survey, and then we built a class. And so that's what you're looking at here is the result of that. And we update it every year to make sure that the market data is correct. We'll look a little bit at market trends. We got a few different packets of information from some of the tools that we use and resources that we use to help us do our business, as well as from this brokerage specifically. One of the reasons we're here is because they are the masters of local market data, which is the best kind of data to make local decisions. So we'll take a look at both of those, and then anyone who wants the more in-depth look at the graphs and where the market's at right now and what it's doing, we can send those out if you request. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that. Then we'll jump into the how, the process. So this is going to be basically getting ready to sell, starting through phase 1, which is preparation, phase 2, which is selling, and phase 3, which is closing. And we'll quickly hit the topics that are of interest. And a lot of times, like I said, these are the things that come up most often as objections or questions or fears from the people that we work with. So we just wanted to tackle them head on and kind of give you an idea of what's coming if you decide that this is right for you. And then finally, we'll finish up with some pro tips and then some question and answer. And the pro tips will be focused around, finding a good team, discount brokerages, instant offers, those kind of things that are in the media right now, other options than a traditional brokerage relationship, and using equity for wealth building. We also teach a class about this, which is specifically, real estate investment. So we won't go too far into that, but we've got some great people here. And if you have some questions specific to that, feel free to ask at the end, and we'll get them answered for you. All right. Feel free to stop me at any time, too, if you have questions. All 2 of you that aren't agents. All right, so we're the Impact team. And a little bit about us. We basically have been together, and we, again, came together because it really brings together all of our skill sets, and we get to pool our resources and our various backgrounds. And we do sale, purchase, investment, management, consultation. When we were with KW up until June of last year, we were #1 in production for the office for 3 years running. So we kind of outgrew that pond and wound up moving over here, and I think we're #2 right now, right? #2 or #3, John?
Yes.
#2. So got a little room to grow here, which we like. We've been 5280 5-star professionals for about 5 years running, Wall Street Journal's top teams in America. About 1,000, well, definitely well over 1,000 transactions now. The team has actually almost doubled in size since we moved here. And we're the top 1% in the nation as voted by Zillow, Trulia Partnership by volume and customer satisfaction, as well as we have about 85% of our business which is referred in. So those are people telling other people about the experience that they had. We don't buy leads. We teach people how to do good work. So in terms of our culture here as a group, what we like to do is we're not disposable one-time use agents. We are trusted lifelong real estate consultants. And aside from, we know you don't all have real estate needs every year. It'd be nice if you did, but the way we keep in contact when we're not doing deals is we do classes like this, the buyer's class, seller's class, and investor's class. But we also do games, movies, barbecues, happy hours. And I'm sure many of the people that are in this room have gotten those invites, so we'll keep them coming. We also do a couple philanthropic events. That's why we're called the Impact Group, because we like to make an impact on the world, the community, and everyone that we come around. So we do some sort of like habitat event, and we also do a trip every once in a while. So we'll keep you on the notice for those. All right, and then Your Castle. We did a pretty extensive search before we actually wound up moving the team from Keller Williams, and we looked at about 11 different brokerages. Either they were interviewing us or we were interviewing them. And the reason we're here, they've got a lot of accolades and awards, but really it is that it's a very data-focused brokerage. They're really always focusing on how do we make things better, how do we make things more accurate. They're getting local data, and they provided a lot of resources that we as agents can use to help our clients. So we're loving it here. It's been a really, really good fit, and that's been evidenced by the fact that we're growing rapidly and things are going really well. So All right, so diving into what's important for this conversation we're having right now about selling a home. This is the result of the original poll that we sent out, and this is kind of what was really on people's minds. And what I did is I bucketed a lot of the responses because we let them kind of say what it was that was important to them. And so we bucketed it here, and then we kind of counted it up. And it really boils down to kind of these three main questions, which we hope to answer for you today. But before I move too much further, you can kind of take a glance at this and I'll go through it. I want to see by raise of hand, are there any questions in the room that you want to make sure that we answer today? No? All right, that makes it easy. All right, so some of the things we were hearing about in this poll, basically a lot of people really want to know how to maximize net profit. And it's kind of hard to see here, but oh, actually, can we have, Mike, can you roll those down? This room feels a little bit like a cave when that's down, but it's much better for presentations. So maximizing net profit was really probably the biggest thing that people wanted to know about for the sale. A lot of people want to know about process, listing prep, costs, valuation, replacement home, market timing, marketing and staging, and then kind of some grouped together other things over here. But there's dollar signs on some of these and question marks on two of them. And really, all the ones with dollar signs kind of boil down to that maximize your net profit, right? Because really, if you're really kind of considering obviously valuation, but the costs associated, even the listing prep, it's kind of more of a question about like, where do I need to put my money to get the most money out of it? So these are the three questions that I really hope that you'll take home from this. Can I achieve my goals by selling? Is it worth it to you? How do you get the highest net profit? And again, we'll tie all those things back in. And where do I start and what do I do? All right, so this is the selling process broken down. This is going to be kind of a roadmap for the entire class and would be the roadmap for the process should you want to get started. There's really these three phases. Phase one is preparing, phase two is selling, and phase three is closing. So this is getting everything ready. Going on the market is selling. So that's actually getting your contract. And once you're under contract, getting it to closing is this last phase. So the thing about this is that each phase has its own variable timeline, which will really depend on your situation. So this could take 1 week. This could take 3 months. It really depends on you. Same thing with these. These have to do with the market timeline and the market forces and really who you're employing to help you out or if you're getting help at all. These can expand or contract. So let's jump into preparing. So the first thing is, you want to start with an evaluation, right? And for every one of these kind of title slides, I always put a timeline on here and a requirement. So the timeline, never too early, right? This is why if you're thinking about selling next year, it's good that you're here. And the requirements are a great agent or a great source of info. Budgeting is probably the first thing that a lot of people think about because a lot of times out there you just hear, hey, let me tell you what your home is worth, free home valuation, all those kind of things. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, right, in our opinion. So budgeting, really, you want to take into consideration many other things other than just what your home is worth. Like you need to know how much you're going to have to spend to prepare it. What are your sales price is the home valuation part. Your sale cost, that's kind of getting towards like a net sheet, which we'll talk about in a second. Any repairs or concessions that you might have within a contract. Your qualification on the other end, should you be buying. Purchase price, earnest money, closing costs. You've got appraisal, carrying costs, moving costs, and home budget. So there's a lot of things to consider within budgeting. It's not just what's your home worth at the moment, right? So especially when you look at something like the Zestimate, which we'll cover later, that's not going to be a good indication of whether or not you should sell. That's not a piece of information that you should use. So here we go. So this is automated valuation models. They call these AVMs. So the Zestimate is one of them. They have Appraisal, Zestimate. There's other companies out there that provide them. But what these are essentially algorithms, right? They are formulas that go out and scrape a bunch of data, numbers, from the multiple listing system and public record. And they try to tell you what your home is worth. But this example right here, all of these numbers are from the exact same house. And you can see how dramatically they change. 455, 413, and 235, right? And then down here, what we have is probably a 6 to 40% margin of error. The actual closing house, the sold price of this house was 390. So it's not really a great way to start the journey. I think the best way to do it is actually to get a human involved in this calculation and run a comparative market analysis. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But what AVMs do compare: square footage, bed and bath count, lot size, numbers, right? And they're pulling the public record, and they do, pull off. So sometimes they're missing things like they're taking into consideration an off-market listing or something that was distressed. They can't really see condition, and that's where they typically go awry. What they do miss is the updates that you've done to the home, your condition, your competition. That's really, really important. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Your financials and the market conditions. You know, this is kind of just a snapshot, a picture, and it doesn't really do a good job of predicting what the market's doing at the time and how your true home value, what it would cause it to sell, interacts with that. So to really know if selling is right, contact an agent, you know, for a free seller's consultation, and that starts with doing a comparative market analysis, a real human-driven analysis of the valuation of your home. So looking at the seller's consultation that we do, we don't believe that truly if you want to move, right? If you're thinking, should I sell or should I not sell? Maybe you've got a few things in your house that you've outgrown or that you just don't love anymore. It's easy to think that, okay, well, if I just figure out how much my home is worth, then that'll kind of help me answer the question. But really, there's a lot more to it in our mind. So our seller's consultation is actually a miniature version of this class. You are in the advanced class right now. We're going to go through just about everything. The seller's consultation is going to be a kind of a mini version of this, along with the education and kind of handling those questions you have, those fears about different parts in the process. But it's not just a free valuation. It's not a listing presentation. We're not trying to sell anything to you. We're trying to really educate you so that you make the best decision possible. And it starts with contacting an agent and doing a phone questionnaire so we can get some information and do some research on your home. And then step 2 would be receiving and reviewing the seller's guide with a little bit of homework in there. And the seller's guide is actually just a dulled down version of this class, actually. And then we'll have an in-home consultation. So this in-home consultation takes about an hour. What we do is we basically go through your home like a buyer would, and you show us around, you show us the things that you've done and the things that you plan to do. And we as professionals will point out to you, okay, well, we think this has a good, you know, dollar for dollar return on investment, or this doesn't. Like, don't worry about that. That's not going to matter in this time frame, in this market. We will discuss the best timing for your sale. We'll do that comparative market analysis to really give you the number of what we believe your home would market for at the time. And we'll always update that depending on how far out your selling time frame is. And then finally, net proceeds. So net proceeds really is where the rubber hits the road. So it doesn't matter what your home is worth. It matters how much is going to be in your bank account at the end of it. And then there's a continuation of that, because let's say you know you're going to put 80 grand in the bank when you sell your home. That doesn't necessarily answer the question of, should I move? Is it worth it? So we take it a few steps further. There's a lender consultation, which is just a conversation with someone like Mike, and this is why we brought him here today. So once you know about how much is going to be in the bank account, they can use other simple information about your financials and do a pre-qualification. And they can give you an idea. You could say, okay, well, I'm paying $1,700 a month right now. I don't want to go above $1,900, but I want to get an extra, you know, bedroom, bathroom, and maybe a, you know, attached garage. And so what Mike can do is he can use those numbers and the net proceeds and some other financials to say, okay, here's the price range you should be looking at. Then along with the agent, you can actually go show potential replacement homes, because truly, I mean, until you've walked through a few homes that make you feel like it's worth it, it's a complicated process, selling a home. And I don't think you should necessarily jump in until you really feel like it's the right choice for you. So after you've seen a few homes and you know the financials and how that's all going to stack up, I think that's the time at which you should be like, and it's a matter of putting together a plan and then getting to work. So that's kind of how our seller's consultation is just different than the free home valuation. And this is all still free. It's something that we do for our clients because, again, you know, if now is not the right time for you and it doesn't make sense, there's no real motivation out there for you to move. We would hope that you would just tell others about the way that we do things. And that's kind of how we build our business. So the other thing too is that there's always options. And sometimes there's options that you haven't considered. If you're just looking to get the free home valuation and go down that path, you know, that there are people out there that would be pushing you towards a sale because maybe that's how they get paid. But the truth is, again, we're trusted lifelong real estate consultants. And if there are other options for you that might be better than selling and purchasing, we're going to let you know about them. And one of those is oftentimes I tell people, don't sell, right? Because right now you have a ton of equity in your home. There's a few things you can do. You could actually rent that home out and create positive passive cash flow. You could become an investor very, very quickly and then still move up. Some other things that, you know, Mike is really good at discussing with people are the options of, okay, Well, if there's really nothing better out on the market for you than what you're in right now, then maybe you can take this opportunity while the market's high to pull some of that equity that you've earned out and use it. And we'll have some, so this is kind of a teaser for the investor class, but we can have some question and answer. We've got John here, who's one of the owning managing members and a very prolific investor. And we can answer some questions around that if you'd like. But we are helping people to do these things like looking at the rates, cash flow projections, the loan qualifications, and talking about your lifestyle too. Because I mean, sometimes people want to move because it seems like a good idea. And honestly, given their lifestyle, it doesn't actually make the most sense. So we feel it's our duty to tell people when that's the case. And then again, so this is just kind of all the information that you would need to make those have those conversations and make those decisions in the most informed way possible. And then in terms of financial planning, we talked about budgeting being a very important piece, and I want to illuminate something here in this slide that basically when you're looking at the whole process from start to finish in selling a home and buying a new home, there's a lot of costs that you don't